Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Downloadable Content. I am joined by the Baron himself today because it's been tradition every time Blade and Sorcery gets a major update that we do kind of an interview. So, hello, Baron. Welcome to Downloadable Content.
Hello, mate. And yes, this has definitely become a tradition at this point.
A great tradition. And today we're going to talk about U12's release. I have some wonderful questions for Baron, and we're just going to talk about how awesome it is and things like that. So without further ado, subscribe if you're new, and let's dive right in. So, my friend Baron, it's been a long road. In recent memory, if I can recall, I think this has been the longest it's been between updates. Am I wrong? Between U11 to 12, right?
Do you know what? I'm with you. It feels like the longest, but I was actually looking at this the other day. Did you know that U11 was actually technically longer?
Really?
Because, yeah, I know it doesn't feel like it, but the reason technically it was longer was because we had that really long beta that ran on for about, I think it was 2 months or 3 months or something like that. Whereas we had no beta this time. So if you count the beta into U11, technically U11 was longer.
Oh, I see.
But,
yeah, you got technicality there, right? Okay.
But yeah, I know the beta kind of breaks the back of it, I think, because, people are playing it so it doesn't feel so bad, and then it releases, But this one was kind of different because we couldn't do the beta for this one because it was just broken, Whereas U11 was kind of like, okay, like the core is there, but there's, silly bugs. Whereas U12 was like, okay, Dungeons is not working.
Oh, man. The big thing I want to start off talking about is Nomad. I want to do that part first. Everyone always yells at me like, talk about Nomad. So I'm going to talk about Nomad. I haven't gotten the chance yet to play the U12 version of Nomad, but I've been hearing some great things as far as performance, graphical fidelity. I think now that you can have more than 3 NPCs. I think it's up to 5. So how did you guys push that envelope? Because I thought U11 really kind of pushed the Quest 2 to its knees.
Yeah, dude. And it's mad because U10 was the same boat. And, it's not to say that with every version of Nomad, there's always a risk of lag spikes and stuff. So it's constantly pushing the envelope. That's true. But yeah, dude, the guys in like the Enviro team and stuff are just awesome. They're just always pushing it. They're just pushing it hard. They're seeing what they can optimize, squeeze the hell out of everything they can. And like there was some success with, the way Nomad is missing some of the rooms that PCVR has. So they were able to do some optimization to get some of those in this build. So yeah, that's it really. Regarding the graphics, I legitimately forget because we've been in development so long. I literally forget what graphics things they improved. I know they did work on it, and there was a time period there where we were messing with the water in Nomad, and now it didn't look like PCVR, but it looked really good. It looked really good for Quest. And I was convinced it was going to go into U12, but then Cosby popped that bubble. There was some kind of problem. So it's kind of gone back into development right now. But yeah, man, there's hope. It's pretty crazy how much the guys are squeezing out of the Quest.
Well, that's awesome because I know probably at this point now there's more players on Quest than there is on PC. So I think a lot of that's people's first taste of Blade and Sorcery is Nomad.
That's crazy, isn't it? It's strange to think about, but yeah, that's exactly it.
Which is awesome because now you have that built-in mod manager, which I thought so much work went into the U12 update. And I saw you guys, I think it was your post, you said it was the mod manager update. And I'm like, oh no, there's so much more than just the mod. I'm like, they called it the mod manager update, call it the Breakable update or swimming.
Yeah. My God, you and I are always on the same page. That was exactly what I said. I was going to call it the swimming update. And then we were chatting about it and, a few lads were like, what about the mod manager update? And I was like, well, I was like, what about Breakable's update? That's even pretty exciting, because like people are going to like breaking. And then Cosby kind of made the final decision. And I mean, he had a good point about it, which is like, look, like the mod manager is the craziest thing we've added. And there's all these Nomad players who've been dying for it since day one. There's been PC players who've been asking for it since day one. So it's like, people are probably going to be more interested to hear that there's a mod manager now than swimming. And I was like, okay.
Right. So,
but it is true. I mean, the biggest work of the update, it technically was the mod manager. So
that's
I guess it's
interesting.
deserved its title.
I want to put a pin in mod manager for a second before I get too far away from Nomad. And I unfortunately I have to ask you this question, Bear, and you know what it's going to be.
Yeah, I know what it's going to be.
Okay. Give us, if you can, a brief update on scripting. I think in our last conversation, we tried to set the record straight and say, hey, scripting may not come when U12 releases. It could be like a final build release type of thing, and even then it might even come after the Nomad final build. So I think a lot of people were like, where's scripting? Where's mod scripting for Nomad?
Yeah, so, you might know about this because you're more in touch with the kind of content community. But I think some misinformation was flying around because I've been getting peppered with DMs lately with people saying where's scripting in U12. I think some misinformation slipped into the content creator sphere, and people were saying U12 was a scripting update, and it's like, don't say that because I'm gonna get all these questions. So as you know, it's scripting is completely a separate entity. It's literally this weird, unprecedented coding, piece, and our guy's been working on it for ages, and it's completely independent of all things Blade and Sorcery. So when it's ready to roll, it'll just boom, here you go, here it is. It's not even going to be attached to any update. It'll just be like one day, it'll just be like, hey, good news.
That's
cool. Modders, good news. The last I have heard of it, which was just before the release, was our guy was saying, so basically he had Lineca's mod working in U11, looking pretty good. Some scripting mods were crashing. So that was like, okay, he's still working on it. Then when we upgraded to the latest Unity version for U12, so that means he has to upgrade the scripting to U12 to the latest Unity as well, which he is doing. But the issue he's having is there's no there wasn't at the time, there wasn't any U12 scripting mods on PC, so he couldn't test anything. So he was kind of waiting for U12 to drop to continue. The issues he's having is he doesn't have any error handlers implemented right now, so he's getting mod crashes. So that's something he's kind of is on his to-do list, and that's it. That's really it. So he should be okay now because I think a bunch of PC mods have been updated to U12. So he should be able to continue his work on that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think possibly I don't recall myself ever saying that scripting was coming to U12. I think it was warning everyone, but I think
I don't think so because the opposite. We've chatted about this. The opposite.
I'm trying to get the most critical information about it, but I think possibly the misinformation may have come from its own good deed of showing Lineca's mystic hands and Nomad, and people are like, "This is it. We're saved. Our savior's here." So I think that's where it could have come from.
Yeah, you're probably right. Someone probably looked at that and then, without kind of reading too much into it, just naturally assumed.
Now, I guess the other thing also is I look at some of your brother and sister games, kind of like On the Quest standalone. I look at things like Battle Talent and possibly Bone Lab and stuff. They seem to use Unity also and have scripted mods kind of working on their end. So I don't know. Are you guys just in that, like, let's get it right? I don't want to release like a half-baked version of it. Is that kind of like the mindset of it?
I'm not technical enough to know what they're doing. Like I've never used Bone Lab mods or Battle Talent mods or anything like that. So I'm not technical enough to know what they're doing. But I don't think it's the same based on what our guy is saying. Okay. I don't think it's in the same type of field of mods.
So making a dotted line connection to mods right now, I've seen it in comments and in posts. Everyone's like, "Oh, do my mods from U5 work?" All this stuff. I think everyone has to understand that game is still technically early access. It hasn't done a full 1.0 release. So every time you are participating in something like this, your mods are destined not to work with the newest update. It just is what it is. I'm just putting it out there, so just think of that. However, moving forward is I think currently we're waiting on the full SDK release for U12, right? Is that public yet?
Yeah. It's no, it's not. It's not even finished yet. The guys are going to work on that. It's basically depends on what your mod is. Basically, in fact, I was chatting with some of the modders today. We were chatting about this. Some mods could just straight up upgrade. It's not a big deal, and they just have to make a little tweak just to update their code or whatever. Some mods that are more complicated, they'll need to go back into the SDK and really dig in, and it requires like a big dig out. And that's I was chatting with I think it was Groove Slinger today. I was chatting with, and he was saying that. So he's kind of like stuck at the moment. He can't fully update.
Okay.
And the cool thing was, the modders are able to say like, "Hey, I can't update my mod because I need blah blah," and like we have a bunch of our team who are modders, like Wooly, Me Man, Drags, Bowtie. They're all like modders, so they're in communication with them. And that's cool because they can directly take the information and be like, oh, the modders need this. So should be good. And then when we do finally update the SDK, modders will get their hands on all that.
So my final part on mods was just my experience with the in-game mod manager, because it's using mod.io, if I'm correct, right? So with mod.io that I noticed, the first thing was when I first loaded into Blade and Sorcery, it asked me to like log in or register for mod.io account. If you accidentally skip that, are you doomed? Can you go backwards? What do you do from there?
It's really good, man. We tried to make it as good for everybody as possible within the limitations of mod.io itself. So if you skip it, it's kind of like you made like a local account. So you could just use the mod manager, never have to connect to mod.io, never have to like make an account or anything like that. And that'll appeal to some people, because you know the way some people are like, oh, I don't want to give my data to this or that or whatever. So perfect. You could live your life that way. All's good. You could also live your life, just use manual mods, never even use mod.io, just flat out use manual mods, and then just use the mod manager to manage your local mods. There's that option too. Then if you want to sync the two accounts, you would have entered your email, and then you use the same email as you authenticated on mod.io website, and then you could like subscribe to a mod, and it'll just automatically appear in the headset.
Okay. So
just that. For your situation, if you clicked skip and you made a local mod and now you're regretting it, there is a way to do it. It's basically in the options file. Well, first of all, there's two ways you can do it. One, if you deleted your options file, it would just regenerate a new options file, and then you could redo the account. But you don't even have to. If you go into your options file with a text editor, I forget exactly what the text is, but it's something like mod.io account, and then it's true or false, and you'll see you've set it to false.
Oh, okay.
If you just change that, it'll kind of reset it, and then the next time you go to the game, you can. It basically gives you the prompt again. I can get that exact information, and I can post it in a comment in this video if any of the listeners want to do that.
Okay. Now, this is probably
Cool.
just my own self. I've done it to myself again, because it reminds me of Doors and Dungeons. You know, when you take it out, we're like, where's the Doors and the Dungeons, Baron? You said, I'm looking up right now. But what is going on, unless you can't tell me, because I know Crystal Hunt we're waiting for it. I get it. I'm not asking about Crystal Hunt. What I'm saying is, what is with the obelisk in the player home and the cave door? Because I know you guys updated the texture in the cave door. I see it. It looks different.
Yeah.
I was hoping that U12 would open, and that would be like, so the cave door would open, right? And then in my head, that was a portal, and that's how you would get into the outpost. Or those are the user-generated dungeons, and you can go right in there, and it opens up, and you're into like this like portal world of dungeons. So what's up, man? What's going on?
And there's also some sounds there.
There are some whisper sounds. They're like, the Outer Rim will now have blasters in U12.
Yeah, it's something special, man. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
But you're promising me that the cave door and the obelisk in the player home have meaning.
A big surprise.
surprise.
Big meaning. Yeah,
Okay.
big meaning.
All right,
Yeah.
but we can't say what it is right now. That makes sense because that's the
Correct.
first thing I did is I spun that around. I put 3 apples in there. I did the sacrifice, and nothing happened. And I'm telling you, I tried everything on that door.
Yeah. Good man. I would love to. I would love to spill all the beans, but Cosby will chase me down, man.
Yeah, he'll spill your beans if that happens.
There's good stuff though. There's good stuff. That's all I'll say.
Cool. That's good. That's good. All right. So the next part is swimming. You guys seem to have done a lot of work on swimming. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I'm terrible at swimming in the game. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but here's what I found. One of the first things I did, I went to the big rock point, and I did the jump, splash in there, swam around, and I appreciate that you guys added, water, I guess particles, I want to say, to the spectator cam
little
now.
bubbles.
Well, there's the bubbles, but also the spectator cam looks like I'm in the water now if you were to see it through there, which it didn't in U11, which is huge. So that's awesome. And then you have the little bubbles like when you move your hands around and stuff. But what I found difficult is no matter what I was doing, if I was doing the backstroke or normal stroke, I don't know what do you call those swimming moves, but I would constantly sink unless I was holding the right controller thumbstick up, because that seemed to control up or down. So if I wasn't doing that stick and I was doing everything I can, I was like Michael Phelps, I can Olympic gold medal, I would still sink. So is there any? Can you give us swimming tips? What am I doing wrong?
Yes, I can give 2 tips. One is that I found the best swim is let me see, what's it called? Is it called the frog? Something?
I think I know exactly what you're talking about, the Navy SEAL swim, the hands in front of themselves, pushing them away.
Exactly. I can't really describe other than a frog. Basically, not the one where you're doing one hand over your head, then another hand over your head, then another hand over your head. Not that one.
Okay.
I think that's called the breaststroke, is it?
Probably.
I don't know.
That sounds right.
I'm not sure. Well, that one's not so great because the motion is really basically the motion I'm doing in the little clip on the news. That's the best stroke you can do.
Okay.
And then for what's the word? Floating, it can be done, but just go real slow and gentle. Just tread the water real slow and gentle.
Okay.
And you can flow.
I have to try it out because I was sinking like a stone.
Basically, if you don't do it right, you'll sink, and if you go a little too aggressive at it, you'll rise, and that's no good either, because then you'll be trying to float and you're kind of popping out of water. It's kind of sensitive, so we could probably do some tweaking as we go. But
the thing is, it's really cool that it's in there, and I just keep saying it with each update that Bleed and Sorcery is every single game. Someone's like, let me download Subnautica. I'm like, whoa, before you do that, let me show you the Bleed and Sorcery U12
update. Yeah, I know. It's we've had a long conversation about this with that whole simulation factor is wonderful, but it's also such a killer because it's oh great, there's swimming, or there's an ocean. Oh, now I need to be able to swim.
Yeah.
Oh, I can swim. Well, now I need to be able to catch fish. I'll catch fish. Now I need to be able to cook fish, and it just goes on and on and on.
Before you get to the fish and the different creatures, just give us a working paddle boat. I just want to.
Right, I know. Right, that's it. Yeah, I know.
I think also. What comes to mind is simulation and immersion breaking, like you just said. So where's the fish? Where's the, and these could be things that either modders will take care of themselves, or you might just see something naturally pop up over time. But one of the things I think that may or may not be controlled now is map boundaries, right? Even if you're not using mods. So I can, when you're in the dungeon, you guys did a lot of work to hide where players can and can't go. And I'm just that's totally fine. If I'm using a mod that's not meant to be in the game, let's say I'm using wings to fly around, I'm not going to, if I can fly around in space and you're like, oh, I can't go to Space Baron. Come on, I can't go to the moon. So that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But now what I found is in certain dungeon areas or even the player home, because you're swimming now, you're gonna hit that invisible boundary. So is there a way to can you guys add a rock wall or rock face or a physical thing that tells the players this is the reason why you can't come here?
Some of it is okay because it's if it's outdoors in a courtyard, then it's oh nice, because the guys put walls or they put palisades or rocks or something. But some of it is tricky, the lighthouse at the very open, because that's just open ocean. And, it's You know, maybe it could have been a cove or something, but, you know, kind of wanted to be like a beach, kind of wanted to be the ocean. So, and the reason there has to be an invisible wall and you can't just let players go, you know, just kind of break the map, is because in dungeons, it really breaks the map. Because, you know, the way, like, in dungeons, we load the dungeon bit by bit. And it's like, it's kind of like a cheat. It loads kind of like the area in front, the area behind. And then as you're going, the dungeon is deconstructing itself. So you don't see it break down until you go backwards.
Right.
That's kind of why we can't do like infinite dungeons too. It's because eventually we'd have memory issues there. But if you were to like get out of the bounds in dungeons, it really, really F's the whole dungeon tech up. So that's why it's not so bad in arenas, because you can get out of arenas like the market and just like, or ruins and just run to the mountains. It's not a big deal because it's not done the same way, but it really screws up the dungeon tech when you get out of the bounds. So that's why it's a little bit more, you know, restrictive. But
I was just thinking if there was like almost like a Legend of Zelda style teleporter, like the older Legend of Zeldas, like you get to a certain spot where you can't go any further, and it's like yoink, you know, it's just like, but that's just as bad, right? That's just as immersion. It's like I got yoink.
Yeah. Do you know what I was proposing? But I just don't get your hopes up because this is not happening.
It's shut down on this. Dungeons. Here we go. No, okay.
Yeah. Man, I tell you, I'm still carrying that banner for you. I really want that to happen. No, I was saying, like, wouldn't it be awesome if you swum out really far and some massive creature kills you?
Yes.
And it'd be just like this horrible, terrifying experience. Yeah, so Kraken. It'd be this horrible, terrifying experience. But I tell you something, players would be like, okay, that makes sense why I'm not swimming out that far.
It does, but then you're going to get a player that says, okay, I'm killing that Kraken now.
Exactly. And that is exactly the response I got, which is why we're not doing it. It was like, okay, well, if we had the creature, we're going to need animations. If we have animations, then people are going to want to kill the creature, and so forth and so on. And it's that rabbit hole once again. So that's why we're not doing that. So
okay,
for now, it'll be invisible walls until we get Krakens and traps. Invisible walls.
That's fair. Well, you know, speaking of dungeons, I am thoroughly impressed with the work that you and your team have done with the new tile sets and the new rooms. They look so good, and you know,
nice.
While I'm battling in there, and you know, it's the juxtaposition of like defeating an enemy and they're just laying there in a pool of blood, to me, like, up against the wall, like, wow, look at the light coming through this window. Look at the carpet's all messed up here, and his friends are like, oh my god. It's just, you know, it's those moments in VR that you don't get to experience a lot in other games, that like just in Blade and Sorcery's update, you get to see how amazing the lighting looks, how amazing the textures look. It just makes me want to be in there. Plus, the addition of the breakables in there, I could spend 20 extra minutes in just one room, because I'm like, does this break? Does this break? You know,
yeah.
It just yeah.
I'm delighted because the last time we spoke on this and we were chatting about breakables coming, I was saying, do you know what? There's only about, like, at the moment, I said there's only about like 4 or 5 breakables or something like that. You know, as pots, and I think I remember saying to you back in that last video, like, oh, we're really hoping we can get benches and tables, and man, they really went overboard with that. They got everything and then some. I think there's something like 20-something breakable objects in the game. So I'm so happy, because originally the idea was like, okay, we'll have like 4 or 5 breakable, you know, pots or whatever. And by the end of it, we got damn near everything in there. So
yeah,
I was chuffed.
I think, you know, I maybe tried once while I was live, like trying to find what wasn't breakable, and I was surprised. I think there might be a few things, like I don't think like the actual wagon was breakable.
Yeah, right. Or
the wagon wheel was breakable, which I'm like, okay, well, it is what it is. Maybe we'll get to that at some point. But everything else, like the tables, the chairs, those are all new models, if I'm not wrong. Like you guys didn't just...
I don't know exactly.
Look different. They definitely look
different. I'm not sure. It may have gotten a reskin when it was being put through the process of being breakable. I'm not too sure. Actually, that kind of would make sense, I guess, because they probably needed to put the texture on the inside of the breakable. So that kind of makes sense. But I'm not positive about that.
But just seeing, you know, I was breaking ceramics like the bowls and cups; those all made it, and that's fantastic. like the vase or vase, I just went behind an enemy, I picked it up and smashed it over their head, which was great. And then I was challenging modders. You know, obviously the SDK wasn't out, but I was like, guys, listen, I don't care if it does nothing, but you need to put like rupees in here, like Legend of Zelda. I don't care if it's like I got 1 rupee. I don't care. It does nothing. I don't care. I just want one. I just want to pick it up and be like, put it in my inventory. I have a rupee, and I think that would be fantastic. But dungeons alone, amazing. Swimming alone, amazing. Mod Manager alone, amazing. And breakables, but when you put them all together, it's almost like mind-boggling, this update. And
that's great.
And to each their own. Like I'm sure there's people that's like, this is all we got was all this stuff. How come I didn't get an open world multiplayer extravaganza like I've been waiting for? But it's to me super exciting, because I think of what it does as far as immersion and potential alone. Yes, when I say potential, I mean potential for mods, but just the immersion of picking up an NPC, right, and they get tossed into the side of something and that breaks. It's just like, oh my god, hell yeah, that looks so good.
Totally. Isn't it one of those things that, like, now that you've had it, you kind of forget how you lived without it?
Yeah.
It feels so right to smash guys through tables. It just feels right. And then you're kind of like, was that not always a thing?
Right,
smash,
exactly.
Like,
and
yeah,
I
it's
was
weird,
talking
isn't it?
to someone yesterday about it in my human life, and I was like, yeah, you know, they added the breakables, and they're like, all right, calm down, you know. And I think especially for people that are new to VR or haven't played VR yet, when you tell someone, it's like, yeah, man, I broke a table, and they're like, dude, we were doing that in the year 2000. You're like, but you don't understand. It's I'm breaking the table. I'm picking them up. And I think that's the thing with VR, is that you don't get it until you get it. So when you're playing it, when you're swimming around, when you're eating the apple, when you're picking a guy up, when you're suplexing them through the table, it all comes together in that experience. And when it's not there, that's when you feel it, right? So I would challenge people, if they were to roll back to you 11, 10, and 9, and 7, you're going to miss all these new features that maybe some people take for granted, for sure.
You're spot on, man. That's the Blade and Sorcery secret sauce right there. It's that when it comes to our game design, it's like literally this is what me and Cosby say about it. It's if the player looks at something and says, I feel like I should be able to do it, then hopefully we have it that they can do it just the way they imagine.
Yeah.
So like they feel like they can manipulate an object in a certain way with defined hitbox. Hopefully they can. I pick up a jar and I smash over someone's head. Hopefully it smashes. I jump in the ocean to swim. Hopefully I can swim, and so forth and so on. Even right down to the climbing. Like, hey, there's a rocky thing here. I feel like I should be able to climb it. Like, what the hell? I can climb it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yes, you can. Like, all those things, yes. And it's the gift curse, because the gift is that, like, you know, this is our holodeck. You know, like if technology was amazing, our dream would be this is a holodeck. Right. You know, but you know, obviously we're limited in technology right now. But the gift is that, like, yes, we can do as much as we can do to have the player immersed always. They think something's going to happen, and it happens exactly like they think, and they're like, whoa. But the curse is that rabbit hole just keeps on going.
Like, dude, it does. It really does. You know,
there's so much more.
I wish we could have everything. I was breaking so many things in the dungeon that it wasn't real disappointment, but the things that I couldn't break, I was like, oh, come on, guys. It was like a pillar holding up the room. And I'm punching it. I'm like, come on, Baron. Why can't I break this pillar and collapse the entire dungeon? Duh.
Exactly. That's exactly it. It's like you wish you could just keep on going, and just like the rabbit hole just keeps going crazy. Imagine how crazy it would be, like, you had super strength, you punch the guy, he hits the pillar, he smashes the pillar, and then the room collapses, like, a chunk of the ceiling falls down. You'd just be sitting there like, this is insane. You know, like, and that's what I wish we could be, but it's just like, goddamn.
You know what though? That makes me think that. So you guys have your procedural seeded dungeons that change, right? But because it's the mainstay, you don't want it to quote unquote break, right? However, a modder, using the new SDK once that comes out, they in theory could make a breakable pillar. They could throw something to it, and that room could collapse, and then the player can leave, right? And because it's a mod, people be like, wow, you got to experience that in a mod rather than, you know, the base game, and the base game can be the base game. And I think that's what separates playing Sorcery from other things. It's like, yep, this is the base game, which gives you the amazing foundation. And then people can say, well, we want to try these different experiences in this mod. And it's okay if they have to reload the level. Because, like, well, you broke everything. Now you have to reload the level. It's just like, okay, yeah, that makes sense to me. I have to reload it. I broke it. So that's the exciting part. And I know maybe we're circling a drain on some of the mod talk. But, like, to me, like, that's what makes me feel like a little kid. Is that someone's going to be like... Breakable room, like they're going to call it. Someone steal my idea. Here we go. Rage, Bladed Sorcery U12 Rage room, and then just everything is breakable. The walls are breakable. The floor is breakable. The player's hand is breakable. You know, just like random things.
It's such a good point. The modder's creativity is insane, and they just come up with. They keep surprising me what they come up with. So I hope to see that. And that's the beauty of it, man. It's like, you know, we have the Thunder Roads, and the cool thing about it is it's the simulation sandbox that we have, and it just keeps developing, and we just keep building out this simulation and adding more features to the simulation sandbox, and everything we do just compiles on top of it. So the cool thing is that it doesn't ever go away. It just keeps getting crazier and more in depth, and we could just, in theory, just keep adding and adding and adding to it. But the mod thing is like, that's beautiful too, because while we're working on our stuff, exactly like you say, modders can go do their thing, and we just make sure we give them the best tools we can give. Like, you know, making the SDK as open as it can possibly be, short of just making the whole game freeware, you know. But honestly, making it as accessible as possible. And every time, like, we do something, like Cosby's always saying, like, how can modders utilize this, you know, and what can we do to make this easier for modders? So that's a big part of the culture for us. And you know what, little tangent, that always really annoys me too when I read comments from people being like, oh, the game is useless without mods, and oh, you know, like, it's only worth getting with mods, and modders carry the game and stuff. That's like, that really annoys the hell out of me, because people with that mindset, it's like they're thinking about it like mods are just created in a vacuum. You know, when in actual fact, it's like we're busting our ass over here to make sure modders have all the tools they can, you know, like, all the facilities they need to make mods and to make the game as mod friendly as possible. So it's always like, that always kind of irks me when I read comments like that.
There's this quote I like. It's from Futurama, of all things. But the quote is, when you've done everything right, people will think you've done nothing at all. And that's the thing. It's like, you guys and your team, Cosby and everyone, has laid beyond a foundation to make it happen. And that's when it crosses over that fine line of like giving back, and then people can be like a little... I forgot the word what I'm looking for. English 2.0, where they get a little like jaded, I suppose. So like, well, I should be able to go fight that Kraken, and they're just being lazy that I can't fight a Kraken right now. And it's just like, you've given so much, and which is a testament to the game itself, is the player thinks it's real in a way, right? They think that the world they're in is real, where they're like, yeah, but I should be able to do this. So why can't I simulate a rocket launch and go into the moon? Like, that's the thing. And it's just, you know, it comes with the territory, right? And I'm sure you guys, you know, you know that. It's just, it comes with the territory. It's just that it does stink to hear those things. And I've heard them countless times, like, well, you know, like, without my outer rim mod, like, I'm not even going to update. I'm going to stay on U7 because you can block blaster bolts. Like, bro, I feel you. It was cool, but, you know, it just kind of is. So don't worry, man. I'm going to give you a digital hug. You and Cosby, digital hug.
And let me just say, though, like 99%, everyone is like insane awesome in our community. It's always just you're on like a subreddit or something like that. That's you know, like, you just see a salty comment somewhere. The one the dagger in my heart, though, the one that kills me every time is the tech demo. I read that and I'm just like, because you know, like that kills me every time. But
one of the other things I wanted to talk about, which it was probably in the news, but I think I was too excited. I was foaming at the mouth, and I just installed it right away. I was like, I gotta play it. There's new animations, my friend. I saw them. There's new attack
yes.
animations and dodge. I don't know if it was dodge animations, but they were doing things I didn't see in the previous build. So what can you give us on that?
Dodge animations, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I don't think there was dodges in it. But shield was the big one.
Oh, yeah.
There is shield animations now, and so in theory, the enemy should be defend themselves better with shields, but they can also shield bash you now, and push you back as well.
Does that do damage? I didn't notice if I was taking damage. I noticed I was getting pushed, but I felt it. But when I wasn't looking at them, I didn't know.
I think it's just a push. I don't think it's damage. That's a good question, though. I'm not sure.
But yeah, I saw the shield bashing and different shield moves. I saw there was a new stab when they were holding the shield up and they would stab a little bit, and then there was a new like overhand couple of swings, and then there's animation blending as well. But,
yeah, they have. They should have better shield guys. Should have some better parry and riposte as well.
Yeah.
So that's something as well. So just all round shield should be better. Just for anyone listening, though, something to take note is it's dependent on difficulty level. So it's the same as all animations. On the hardest difficulty, you have a bigger pool of animations that the AI will play. And then on easy, they'll just be limited to like the easy animations. And the same is true for shield guys. I think on easy AI, I'm not even sure if they do shield bash it. I can't remember. But on the hard difficulty, they're shield bashing way more frequent. So just a heads up on that. If you're not seeing shield bashes, crank up the difficulty.
Yeah. The other thing, I guess, if you can add more to the animation overhaul, I think U10, I don't remember if it was U10 or U9. I think it was U10.
Yeah.
That you were saying, like, hey, we've started this process. So now we're I'm just going to call them generations. We're 2 generations away from the start of it. What more can we expect? Because I know, immersion aside, sandbox aside, like the crux of it, I think a lot of people appreciate is the overall combat, the visceral combat and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And if I was to say, hey, this is what we need more of, it would be animations. Like the enemy difficulty, but like like what they do, a lot of times, like we've talked about where they're only going to attack you one at a time because you said you've tried it in the past. But I mean, like, I want to see that guy bust out that dagger, starts trying to stab me with that dagger. And then, so what's going on with the animation side of things? Because we have Breakable swimming, and I'm sure that's where, and mod managing, so that's where a lot of the effort went for this update. So future-wise.
The AI overhaul, since we started it, we always mention it's just one of those things that's going to be forever updating. Like there's always going to be tweaks being made to the AI and improving them and stuff. But on big stuff, I can't say because I'm not sure. But I think one of the things that I would want, I hope we can add more animations in. And like that's one of the things we're currently kind of in the process of is looking for an animator to join Warp Frog. Like up to now, we've only had contractors jump in and just like do a bit of work and then jump out. We would love to have someone who's an animator literally, all the time on the team. And we did do some hiring. We hired like a new developer who had a specialty in animations. So that's like an amazing start. And he's working currently on just like fixing things that are like a little bit jank in animation. But it would also be cool to have an animator, just a dedicated animator working full time on like new animations. And that's the good stuff, because that's the stuff you can, new enemy attacks and stuff. Mm-hmm. So like that's kind of one avenue. Then we had another avenue where we were kind of playing around with motion capture, and one of the guys in the team who does all the AI was messing around with this, and we were trying to see like what can we do with this kind of stuff. But nothing's really committed right now, so I can't really say. I think we'll probably get more into 1.0, and I'd say we'll probably have the road to 1.0 news, and at that point I usually have a good idea. Okay, what is in the next update? And I could probably say more confidently, okay, good news, in the next update we should have these animations, or good news, we're using motion capture to do this or that or whatever. So
gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I think one of the last things new is the UI and audio. So there's combat music that syncs like insanely well and it makes you so hype while you're playing, and it's not just like the arena looping music.
Yeah.
And then there's also these beats, which I think you mentioned last time. When you down a character, it's like ba-bam, it plays, and it depends on how they got down sometimes. Like
if you stealth kill them, it's kind of like shing. And
so
I was trying my best to explain this last time, and I couldn't do a good job, and I was like, just wait, you'll see.
Yeah, you gotta experience it. So that sound is awesome, and honestly, I even put it on now sometimes because like I said, normally I usually have to turn all that stuff off because of editing. Like, it just is what it is. But it's awesome that it's royalty free, but it plays well with the game itself. It feels really good with that stuff. It's just the music playing, the sound effects when you're doing, like, you just feel like you're just like, I'm that cool.
Yeah, we wanted to kind of have that like little John Wick kind of esque element where it felt like it was the hit is happening to the music almost, it's like, action is happening kind of on the beat.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we were going with that. And then, just in general, just finally we have like, custom music. Like we've had that arena music, oh man, for what, 4 years now. It's it burned into my brain, So now we have some actual custom music, and this is royalty free, and no more YouTubers getting flagged and all that kind of stuff. So that's the good part.
That's awesome. And you guys have the new book UI, or should I say page UI, which were you familiar with that incident of we did a reveal? It was basically like a lot more cleaner. Now the thing is, that's like what's better? Is it immersion or is gameplay better, right? And some people do or don't understand that one. But I think you guys found a happy medium, because I think what you're talking about is you guys got a little bit of criticism that it didn't look like the feel of the game.
Yeah, and man, it was one of those things. It was you don't see the forest for the trees, because we were all like real hyped for it. We were like, oh, the UI is like so clean and new and fresh, and it's all functional, and we were like, oh, players are going to really enjoy this. And then we started reading comments about it, being like, first of all, people being like, oh, I kind of liked the kind of rustic aesthetic. And then another comment, and it really hit me hard, I read, was like someone just saying like, do you know what? Like the book menu was good because it suited the aesthetic of the game. And it felt like I was a wizard. And I read that and I was kind of like, oh, damn, like you're right. You're literally right. And, and I think it was just that thing. We were just too kind of involved. And, when we read comments like that, it was kind of like, oh, God, like, it's such a good point. Like, it is a little bit too sci-fi, and it's clean, but it is not really fitting. When we read that, it kind of was like we all had a chat, and it was kind of like, okay, well, like, how can we meet this middle ground? Like, how can we bring back the vibe that people liked of the book menu, but still retain, like, the nice, clean look and, overhaul of the menu system? Yeah. So I think we hit that middle ground, the happy middle.
I definitely think you do, because I thought of it as a veteran player and a new player. So as a veteran player, you might look at the new page and be like, I don't know where anything is, but you take 30 seconds and then you find everything. As a new player, I guarantee you, as a new player, they're just like, this is super clean. They don't have to turn pages in the book. They don't have to go to the worry about the tabs. It's just all laid out there in front of them, which I think is great. And I think you guys have done a great job of explaining like 90% of the pages. But I already got yelled at for this, so I corrected myself. But I saw dismemberment in there twice, and I'm like, what the hell is this? So one of them is dismemberment on in the gore/blood category. That's just if you want dismemberment, and the other one is kind of like a built-in quote-unquote mod that makes dismemberment easier.
So allow me to explain. I actually did point that out in the news. It's in that section, in the news about dismemberment cheat. I pointed out this full-blown mistake we made on our side. You're absolutely correct. So basically there's dismemberment in the options book, and that's to literally turn on and off dismemberment. And then there's a new cheat, which is called dismemberment. It really should be called easy dismemberment.
Yeah.
And what happened was we did it, and then we were like literally ready to roll on launch. And I noticed it, and I was like, oh, and I brought up to Wooly, who was working on it. And he's like, oh, damn. He's like, we can change it, and, we'll make the change. We'll change it to call it easy dismemberment. And then it was like, well, hang on a second. We can't, because we've got a big bunch of localization
Yeah.
And we would need to go through and adjust all the localization, and we just didn't have the time for it, because we would basically be Google translating if that was the case. And so it's like, well, look, you know what? Let's not mess right now. Let's just wait and let's patch it for 12.x. And so it was like, yeah, like, what's the big deal? We'll fix it for 12.x. So it's not like a game-breaking feature or anything like that.
Yeah, that was probably best, just a simple text thing. And I noticed even in the book, like, you even have explanations under certain things, like external view. I used to get that question all the time. They're like, Drifter, what mod is that camera? I'm like, it's not a mod. You can do it on Nomad, you can do it on PC, but it's right there, and I would explain it. So it's cool that you guys, have it in there. So that's really cool. I think you guys did, a fantastic job overall with the entire update. It adds so much new life into the game just from its base. Where it's going to go with the mods is just going to be insane. So I really appreciate all the work you guys did. We did wait, I think, close to a year, almost a year, 11 months, right, for this one. But
for this one, no, this one was actually 6 months.
6 months?
6 months,
No. Well, okay, you're probably right.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it, though. I know what you mean. It felt like a year.
I'm not counting 11.3. I guess I'm saying from when 11 came out, its first beta, U11 beta 1 came out, to 12.
Oh, okay.
That's about a year.
Probably. Yeah, I think it was about 9 months, because I think the beta was 3 months, was it?
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
But since U11 dropped to now has been 6 months. But tell me about it. It feels like a year. It feels like more than a year.
Yeah. So I mean, I can't wait to see what's next for Blade and Sorcery. It gets me super excited just as a content creator, but as a super fan and a player of the game, I appreciate everything you guys do. I feel like you have, the players first, which, a lot of devs,
yeah, man.
You can't really
Thanks
say that.
So much.
Absolutely. You can't really say that about a lot of devs. They just want to get their vision out and push everyone aside. But it's cool, even looking at things like the book where you took, player feedback, community feedback, and say, hey, guys, we do need to change this. Even though we made this UI, we still need to change it. So it's very appreciated.
Awesome.
Like I said, I'm super excited. Is there anything else you want to add to this interview? Do you want to say surprise multiplayer comes out tomorrow or anything?
Here's something that you already know, but saying it out loud might still blow your mind. The next update, technically U13, is the 1.0 update, which means it's Crystal Hunt. It's the final. It's the final stop. It's the game.
That's true, because it does say Crystal Hunt coming 2023. So is that real? It says that in your current update. You just released the update, yesterday or 2 days ago? It says 2023.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, we'll see about that, because U12 was 3 months, and that didn't go so great. But yeah, no, it's just, isn't that mind blowing on the journey of all the journeys, of all the updates we've done, of all the times me and you chatted, with all the updates dropped. The next time we're chatting on an update, it's going to be, let's chat about 1.0. Let's chat about the full release.
I almost got goosebumps thinking about that, dude.
It's crazy, man. We're stressed to bits. We have so much to do.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have laid some framework, for it. Like, you've alluded to, like, certain lore and different, like, races and different biomes and things like that. So
yeah,
for sure,
man. We're working on lore right now. Oh, it's good.
And,
you're gonna like it, dude. You're gonna like it.
You know what? It better contend with my own lore, Baron. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. What's gonna be real nice is I guarantee you when the game drops and people are putting together the lore, you're gonna start to see YouTuber compilations of lore, like piecing together. Finally, we can sit down, we can chat about it.
That's gonna be
chat
awesome.
about the lore. It's gonna be all out on the table. We can get into it. I can't wait.
Before we close, there was one more thing that I think is swept under the rug, but you did talk about it in the last interview. The soul spell does not exist anymore, right? We should delete that from our brains. It's gone. No more soul.
Sad.
Okay.
It was lingering forever on the kind of like, to, figure this out list. And an attempt was made at it. And then eventually it was just kind of like, well, two issues basically. The first issue was it was too complicated. It was it didn't fit with the game. It was really cool, but it didn't fit with the game. It was like too complicated. And then we were getting into the game design of like, okay, should we rework this? How can we make this work? And then Cosby was just like, guys, we are so behind right now on everything. Like, we got to shelf this. And that is the sad story of Soul. So maybe someday. But for today. Now, it's not today. For now, it's at least not for 1.0. It's shelved for that. So we'll see in the future, but for now, no.
Awesome. And in traditional fashion, I have one more thing for you. Where is Citadel on Nomad?
Yeah, yeah, I know. And where's multiplayer? I know.
Well, no, those two things aren't the same. Come on.
They're two impossible tasks.
I think it's fair to ask what's going on with Citadel and Nomad. Is that a hope in 12.x, or is that like, well...
No, it's definitely not. No, I think pretty much since U11, we were kind of like, okay, this isn't going to happen. I believe we chatted about it last time in the last video, where it was kind of like, I mean, the guys, they really, really did give it their best shot. And the closest we got to it was still about 20 frames per second off.
Yikes.
And I mean, 20 frames per second.
Oh,
that's significant. Like, 20 frames. So it's just like, okay, look, we tried our best and we're still 20 frames off. And then last time me and you were chatting, I believe we were chatting about this, where we were saying, well, what if it was just a bridge? That's that one. What if it was just like and we had that whole conversation, and it was kind of like, well, if you're going to redo the map to make a Nomad version, well, then why don't we just do like a brand new map and make a PC too? But then if we're going to do a whole new map, who's doing this map and where are they getting the time to do it? Yeah, and that whole quagmire began.
Cool.
So so direct port to Nomad, it seems not possible right now. And then why not another map instead? Just because we just don't have the time right now.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah,
I appreciate the honesty. That's fair. Well, my friends, I want to say thank you so much for stopping by and watching. Special shout out and thank you to Baron for taking the time to do this interview with us. If you guys have any questions, of course, leave them in the comment section down below. I cannot promise that Baron will answer all of them, but I will. If he does answer one, I will pin his comment at the top, and you guys are free to bombard that comment from there. And I will also try my best to field any of those questions as well to alleviate some of the pressure. But Baron, thank you so much for stopping by. And everyone else, if you're new to downloadable content, click subscribe. Almost at 100K. But other than that, I'm Rob from Downloadable Content. That was Baron from Warp Frog, and we will see you next time.